My name is Fiachra Byrne. I'm a fourth year Bachelor of Arts student in the University of Limerick. My final year research project is on the socio-economics of personal and social well-being across Europe, a multi-level political economic assessment. I will now provide some background information on my final year research project. The importance of psychological well-being. The greater level of psychological well-being is associated with healthier and longer lives, high standard of living, and fewer social problems, such as an involvement in crime and delinquency, substance abuse, and poor social relations. Socioeconomics. Socioeconomics position shapes a host of life chances and conditions, both social and psychological. Inequality is a result of social stratification. If resource distribution is fundamentally uneven, it results in negative impacts on people's social and personal well-being. Economic recession as a natural experiment. Economic recessions are large-scale changes in economic conditions that are largely independent of personal actions. This is what statisticians call exogenous, means not by choice. Between 2007 and 2012, the Great Recession was a period of substantial overall downturn in the national economies throughout the world. The severity and timing of the recession differed by country. What effect should the recession have on well-being? Material. Economic downturn should foster unemployment, less economic activity, decreased income and wealth, and an increased uncertainty about future jobs and income. Social psychological should undermine well-being. Political economic factors are also very important. They mediate the impact of changing labour market conditions. Contingencies by welfare state. Welfare states matter because they buffer exposure to labour market downturns and provide extra market supports when needed. Scandinavia is the strongest welfare state regime, while continental, Anglo-Saxon, Mediterranean, Eastern Europe are the weakest welfare state regimes. The following are research questions I developed and conducted in my final year research project. What is well-being? A multi-indicator assessment. Is well-being consistent across a non- and recessionary period? How and how much did well-being change with recessionary conditions? How much does the welfare state context change, if at all, the impact of the recession? And does the labour market position, e.g. unemployment, explain welfare state differences in the effect of the recession on well-being? I will now address the data and key measures taken in my final year research project. The data was taken from the European Social Survey website with a sample representing 90,914 correspondents. The sample was drawn from 29 countries in 2006 and 2012, with the latter being recessionary conditions. Well-being. Consistent with best practices, it is measured as a latent variable construct composed of having meaning in life, positive emotionality, self-esteem, vitality, competence, optimism, emotional stability, and self-resilience. Welfare state context can be defined as a combination of labour market protections and extra market supports. The five regimes contain the following countries. Scandinavian welfare state regime contains Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. Continental welfare state contains Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland. The Anglo-Saxon welfare state regime contains Ireland and the UK. The Mediterranean welfare state contains Cyprus, Greece, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Turkey. And the Eastern European welfare state contains Bosnia, Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Poland, Serbia, the Slovak Republic, Slovenia, and Ukraine. Figure 1. Well-being as a multidimensional construct. All parameter loadings fall within accepted ranges. Esteem might be a bit low, but still amplifies a correlation between the underlying construct of well-being and the observed indicator of 0.64. Most are pretty balanced too. In general, coefficients that range between 0.6 and 0.8 indicate an optimal association, as larger values indicate decreased value of a multi-indicator approach, and smaller values indicate a weak association with the latent construct. Based on the estimated model, the strongest associations are seen for emotional stability, resilience. Moderate to strong associations are seen for competence, positive emotions, optimism, meaning, vitality, and weaker associations seen for esteem. Results question 2. Reliability across economic contexts. Standard chi-square tests evaluate fit to the data when the data is A. constrained to be equal across the two groups and time periods versus B. not constrained. Evidence suggests statistically significant differences for competence, emotional stability, meaning, vitality, and maybe optimism added is sort of varied. There is no significant differences for positive emotions, resilience, and esteem. It's important, however, that one recognizes that the chi-square is remarkably sensitive to sample size, and there is a large to very large sample size. This will indicate whether the variables varied across the two economic time periods. The differences in the size of the coefficients are quite small after the fact, indicating substantial similarity across groups. Conclusions are not changed with separate analysis. The value of emotional stability is the biggest change over the two economic time periods, while meaning is the smallest change over the two economic time periods. This indicates that across the two time periods, the 8 variables stayed consistent as their effect as being a function of well-being. Result 3. How did the recession influence well-being? Across the two economic time periods, there is a small uptick seen in well-being. This result is not expected, as this means when economic conditions got worse, people's well-being increased. Result 4. Did the influence of the recession vary by welfare state regime? The small uptick hides a lot of variation. Significant increase in well-being in Scandinavian contexts is seen, while small to average increases in continental and Anglo-Saxon contexts, with a huge decrease in Eastern European contexts and no change in Mediterranean countries. Changes in recessionary effects due to labour market experiences are evident in this table. If we look at the unadjusted welfare states compared to the adjusted before the labour market variables are added, we can see the differences in well-being. The biggest differences being between Scandinavia and Eastern European. Scandinavian welfare state holds the highest level of well-being, while Eastern Europe holds the smallest level of well-being. The difference in unemployment between Scandinavian welfare states and Eastern Europe welfare states is minus 0.60, and the difference of those not in the labour force is 0.223. The differences in actual well-being between Scandinavia and Eastern Europe is 0.168. We can see before being adjusted to labour market experiences where well-being stands for pre-recession period, round 3. The following slide will represent the changes due to labour market experiences has on well-being. Summary of results. Psychological well-being is a latent construct well described as a composite of competence, emotional stability, seeing meaning in life, optimism, positive emotionality, resilience, self-esteem, and vitality. It is a highly reliable and stable across economic time periods. Recessionary conditions produce a small but heterogeneous by welfare state context increase in well-being. Large increase in Scandinavian countries, small increases in continental and Anglo-Saxon, no change in Mediterranean, and a moderate decrease in Eastern Europe contexts. Labour market position, notably unemployment, largely explains the negative effect in Eastern European countries. Research highlights the need to conceptualize and study well-being as a multifaceted phenomenon. Science may be misdirected by univariate conceptualizations and measures. People experience well-being in a holistic way that is fairly robust to changes in social conditions. Large-scale economic change does not have large uniform effects on well-being. People may anticipate or adapt to new conditions. People may benchmark themselves against others, for example, I'm not as worse off as her. Or people may see such thing as ephemeral. For example, things will get back to normal. Conclusion. Political economic conditions matter a lot. Stronger welfare states mitigate the effects of economic change on people's well-being. Weaker ones amplify things. This indicates the role and importance of political institutions for psychological well-being. Labour market dislocations such as job loss explain a lot of the negative macro-level effects. This seems logical given the volumes of work on the topic. In general, research highlights the importance of a macro-micro multi-level perspective on psychological well-being.